Once again, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It gladdens my heart to welcome everyone to this webinar series. That focuses on environmental sustainability and the circular economy in commemoration of the World Clean Up Day. Indeed, it's actually a countdown activity to this very day. We just talked about circular economy. Today, more than ever before, there is accelerated interest in the circular economy. And this is especially so as we shape a nature-positive future for everyone. The concept of the circular economy indeed has entered the mainstream and gained traction among various stakeholders, including businesses. Many of the stakeholders are already publishing circular economy initiatives and indeed implementing projects that use resources better and in a less damaging way. Governments, private sector players, interestingly, have been developing or advancing policies and circular economy action plans, which seem to have helped cement the circular economy as a potential solution to our problems of today. But a question a number of us, perhaps in the audience, will want to ask is, what is circular economy? One of the definitions, there's no generally accepted definition. But however, circular economy has been defined as a systemic approach to production, consumption, and materials management that facilitates regeneration and maximizes both value and use. It tends to prioritize non-toxic, renewable resources and minimizes waste by closing resource flows. This approach reduces the environmental pressures of resource extraction, production, consumption, and waste to benefit all of us, and indeed to benefit habitats, species, genetic diversity. Just name it. The potential is huge. In order to provide insights into environmental sustainability and circular economy principles, with focus on how partnership can amplify positive impact across our nation, with outcomes that benefit both the private, public, and non-profit organizations, and indeed our investors. This webinar is being held, once again, focusing on environmental sustainability and the circular economy, beyond just cleaning. This webinar is a joint initiative by the United Nations Global Compact, the Food and Beverage and Recycling Alliance, Sterling Bank, and Sterling One Foundation, specifically to foster opportunities for contributing to achieving Nigeria's development aspirations, while creating transformative steps for engaging all stakeholders to work together to achieve the SDGs by 2030, with focus, again, as emphasis on environmental sustainability and the circular economy. Ladies and gentlemen, like we have said, This webinar is part of the countdown events to mark the World Clean Up Day. That day is still ahead. A whole lot of activities have been lined up for the 18th of this month. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a whole lot of objectives that we actually want to meet using this webinar. Just to quickly let you know that we want to develop a roadmap to pull partners with similar interests and funds to achieve the SDGs with focus on environmental sustainability and the circular economy as we move along. To secure long-term commitments of willing partners who choose to become beacons of light to ensure the objective of this very day. And of course, beyond this day, sustain it for better living for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, we will also use this opportunity to explain the lessons learned and best practices that will continue to assist us in creating more sustainable activities, actions, and indeed reducing the risk that all of us are faced with, while trying as much as possible to create equitable and prosperous society through the application of circular economy principles, practices, and policies to development. Ladies and gentlemen, there's so much to say with regard to the objectives of this webinar. And to assist in highlighting some of the things that we have said, we have distinguished panelists in the house. They are well-known experts in their own rights and in their own field. Ladies and gentlemen, we will engage them in form of discussion. I would like to first and foremost say, before we call them up, we're going to read their bios a bit, just to let you know, as we move along, you already know that this event is being recorded. If you also look at the base of your screen, you will see the question and answer function. You also see the chat. We might not have the opportunity to allow you to talk, but kindly put your comment there. Kindly put your questions. They will be responded to in the course of the conversation by our distinguished panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, if you think you have challenges with your technical issues, you can also put it there in the Q&A function, so that if we're able to assist you, we do that. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you're all welcome. My name is Eugene Itwa. I'm the CEO of Natural Eco Capital. I'm also the regional coordinator of the West Africa Capitals Coalition Hub, as part of the Capitals Coalition in the world. Now, going to our distinguished panelists, I would like to read out their bio so that we all know how privileged we are to have them with us this very morning. I have here with us Mr. Matthew Sigwen, and we were just conversing, and he said we can actually call him Shegun. We have planned to give him a chieftaincy title if possible in Nigeria. He is the managing director and chief executive officer of Nigerian Bottling Company Limited. We have Dele Fasiemo, who is currently Sterling Bank's group head of oil and gas and power, and simultaneously oversees the bank's strategic focus on the renewable energy sector. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have Executive Director of the, ladies and gentlemen, we have one more person, environmental activity. He is Mr. Desmond Majakudumi, creation care environmental activist. He's an acoustic engineer, producer, and then he has also added that on air personality and farmer. So much to say about these distinguished personalities with us. Without having to waste so much time, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask the first question to our distinguished panelists. And the first question is, to everyone now, just for us to just quickly give us, we're giving some idea about what you do and where you are coming from. Would you want to tell us, specifically in the light of what we're talking about, what is your organization doing? I would like to start with the MD of Nigerian Bottling Company, Mr. Matthew Sigwen, just to help us appreciate, in the light of environmental sustainability, in the light of circular economy, what is your organization doing? Just give us an overview and then we'll take it from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ituwa. Thank you for the opportunity and the introduction. So I will talk first about FIBRA, which is a food and beverage recycling association where I have the privilege to be an honor to be the chairman. And I will also talk about NBC, Nigerian Bottling Company, who is a bottler of Coca-Cola now for 70 years in the country, what we are doing. So, and I'm going to try to be short. So from FIBRA, we are really taking it very seriously. As you know, we've been established from 2018 as a producer responsibility organization, PRO, for Nigeria, and trying to establish a EPR framework. For the last 3 years, we've done a number of key projects or key actions. First one, we focus on collection and recovery of packaging material, and that's PET bottles, but also used beverage cartons like your juice Tetra Pak type of carton. In the last few years, I mean, since its inception, FIBRA has been able to support the collection of and recovery over 14,500 metric tons of plastic waste, 240 metric tons of flexible material, and 300 metric tons of UBCs, those famous used beverage cartons. So that's the one thing. So concrete action is really to collect the material. The second one is to promote the circular economy of PET bottle. And as we know, that's a big challenge for us in this country, in our country. So we started by working with SONEX, working with Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, to define the standard of rPET. Because if we collect the plastic, we need to be able to reuse it. So now it's done, as in establishing the standards. And now we need to move to the next level, which is collect more and being able to recycling. I'm going to come back to that. On the used beverage carton, we worked very hard with Onward Paper Mill, with Oliver Adam to recycle aluminum and plastic content into that one. And two more key points for me, which is developing the recycling infrastructure in Nigeria, because it's a very informal industry, as we know, and we'll come back to that, I'm sure. But how do we get the collection center working with the aggregator and hopefully partnering and investing into the circular economy in Nigeria? And last but not least, we have a lot of partnership and collaboration, especially in the COVID time. We produced 20,000 face shields with Jivo using plastic, and we also work with more than and train more than 1,000 waste pickers in Lagos, Ogun State, and Abuja. So that's in a very quick framework what we are doing with FIBRA. When we are talking about NBC, Nigerian Bottling Company, here we've been working a bit longer. We started back in 2005 and worked with Alchem for 8 years. And that partnership took over from on FIBRA. We have committed as a company, as Hellenic, Coca-Cola Hellenic, but also together with Coca-Cola Company, to recycle, collect and recycle 100% of our material by 2030. And as we all know, 2030 is tomorrow. The challenge is how do we do that? So a few key points. One, we are really accelerating our re-engineering our glass bottles. We know historically we had a business which was majoritarily in glass. And over the last few years, plastic has taken over. Now we are really focusing on getting glass back in traction, and that's working very well, accelerating the returnable glass bottle. But also, all our packaging glass bottles are recyclable, 100% of them. Now we want them back, and I'll come back on that. Third one is really how we can help on a collection front. So we are setting up 20 recycling banks all across. We've done that with the Coca-Cola Foundation. We have one. I was yesterday in our Ikejan plant in Alausa. We have one that we inaugurated before the summer with Fibra was there as well, and the Lagos official. So here we really need to accelerate that. Last but not least, we are also trying to make it easier for our packaging to be recycled. Good example is Sprite, where it used to be in a green preform. Now it's transparent preform. So every little thing of what we can do, try to help. So that is, in a nutshell, Dr. Etu, what we do at Fibra level and how we can make it concrete for NBC. Back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that very beautiful highlight. And I would like to also ask Dr. Desmond. I call him doctor because I know I have had the opportunity to call him that earlier. And I'm still calling him that because I know some of us that are doctors, some of the knowledge we have may not be equal to his own. Practically speaking. So, Dr. Desmond, like I said, I won't take it away. Magic could do me. I know you have been in the space. In relation to what we're just saying, could you just give us, maybe within the next 2 minutes, what you have done and still doing to support the various activities? If you unmute yourself, we'll be able to hear you.
So proud and so elated to be part of this initiative. It brings a lot of gladness to my heart because we've actually been at it for well over 35 years now as a foundation member of the Nigerian Conservation Foundation with the likes of Uzoma, Philip Asiodu, Aduke Alateja, and our patron was the late Duke of Edinburgh, His Royal Highness Prince Philip. And as a result of that, we became very dedicated to this whole issue of looking after the environment, because we call it environment, but it's our life support system, and it's our children's life support system, and it is being badly damaged. So we have been advocating for a long time, and it's encouraging now to see that more enlightened individuals, instead of just fighting to protect the almighty profit margin. Not that the profit margin is not important, but when you put the profits ahead of people and planet, then it becomes a very negative force. And it's very encouraging to see Sterling with this wonderful initiative. I'm deeply touched, and also the NBC really trying to do something very effective. I had a farm in Lekki quite some time back. I've converted the farm with the cooperation of the Lagos State government into a park. And it's a natural park where there's a lot of the natural trees there. And we have thousands of students come in, particularly we're targeting the student community to try to connect them with nature and try to emphasize to them the importance of protecting nature. And obviously part of that whole protection is ensuring that there isn't too much plastic around, because if we're really going to allow the plastic to continue this way, we're going to have more plastic in the ocean than fish life, than amphibians. and it's already entering our food chain. So it's very, very encouraging. And that's what we're trying to do, just, create awareness about the situation. Possibly we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that a little later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is even another beautiful insight of what has been happening. And thank you for helping us to that brief history. Yes, for NCF, yes, I know very well. Now, you just talked about profit. And profits is actually from businesses. And to support businesses is the financial institution. Mr. Dele Fasiemu, perhaps you want to also give us insight into what your institution, Sterling Bank and Sterling One Foundation, is doing in this regard to support nature. Take note, Desmond has said that it is our life supporting system. Thank you. Just in 2 minutes, let's hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Itua. It's quite interesting, and it's my pleasure as well to have this platform to join the conversation around what, in your word, Dr. Majakudumi has described as our life support system. And he put it quite succinctly when he said, we're not speaking about the environment, we're actually speaking about ourselves. So it's enlightened self-interest that we all pay attention to this. And again, to give context, if we follow closely the global outlook now around the environment, around climate change, and so on and so forth, this is not something that we will have to beg people to do very soon. This is something that people will, organizations, businesses will be, I don't want to use the word compelled, but it will be a compelling business case to support the environment. If you see what is happening in Europe today, legislations being passed, discouraging lenders from putting money in activities that degrade the environment and so on and so forth. So this is, I just want to make that point for everybody to understand that this is no longer charity, this is now business, and it's important that we begin to look at it from that particular perspective. Now, coming down to what we are doing in Sterling, for those who may be familiar with Sterling Bank and what we call our hard sector strategy, it's our focused, deliberate, and strategic focus on 5 key sectors, where we think that impact will be mostly made and felt across every single human being and business. And those are sectors of health, of education, of agriculture, of renewable energy and transport. Now, when you look at the various sectors that I've mentioned and how they impact the circular economy that we're discussing today and the environment, and for those who may be familiar with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and the targets, you know that circular economy speaks directly to about 7 of those: clean water and sanitation, economic growth, the sustainable cities, consumption, responsible consumption and production, climate change, and so on and so forth, life on water and life above water. When you marry all of these things with, the focus of Sterling Bank on hearts, those sectors that I mentioned, you will see that Sterling, we're not here by accident. We're here deliberately, we're here strategically and by choice. And in specific terms, those who live in Lagos would already know that when you look at the activities of the Lagos State Waste Management Authority, LOMA, you would, the clothing that the street sweepers and all the other people use is naturally synonymous with Sterling, because you will see the logo of Sterling Bank and how we've been supporting the Lagos State government in this regard for several years. And let me also make it interesting to you that it's not only in Lagos that we do this. We actually provide proper waste management support across 24 states of this country today, which is about 70% of the entire federation. And this we started over 10 years ago. So, and if you look at not only, putting money behind it, but trying to change culture, trying to change orientation. We've partnered with, A-list artists in Nigeria, Lamide particularly, a leading musician, who has been, working with the Sterling One Foundation in creating awareness and about how to achieve gradual behavioral change. And, and interestingly, the songs that I did around this subject with Sterling support got hundreds of thousands of downloads. And that tells you how this cultural shift is happening among the youths. Other artists that we've worked with include, people like Funke Akindele around cleaning events and so on and so forth. I need to also mention that, in collaboration with Sterling One Foundation, we've been adopting beaches across the country, particularly in Lagos. One beach after another, domesticating all of these activities, and in the process, creating employment, empowering youths and women. Again, speaking about enlightening self-interest, not just for them to see themselves as packing waste and trying to recycle bottles, but as a source of livelihood and income and employment for them. If you bring it down to ourselves across our branch locations and head office in Sterling, we've instituted waste recycling, particularly in the head office of Sterling Towers and Marina. Every single floor of the 17-story building has designated, waste collection points sorted into the different compartments and so on and so forth. And finally, again, we'll speak more to this. By the end of this year, hopefully, we've got the support and approval of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to take our head office completely off grid with solar power. That will be first of its kind in Africa of such a high-rise building that will be fully 100% power from renewable energy source. Okay, so again, these are all things among the different things that we're doing to walk the talk, to put our money where our mouth is or the other way around, So I like to stop at this, and I believe I'll share a bit more information as we go along. Thank you again very much, Dr. Itua, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much for that beautiful insight. And interestingly, you touched on a number of issues, talking about partnership, talking about the various stakeholders we are working with. And interestingly, you also talked about the various goals, the SDG goals that the circular economy touches. Now, in all of this, we do know that the UNGC Global Compact has been doing a whole lot. The question is, Ms. Naomi Nwokolo, what would you want to tell us you've done in reaching out to a number of partners and then bringing in the goals that he just talked about?
Thank you very much, Dr. Eugene. So the issue of environmental sustainability and the reason why we are here today is very central to the work that we do at the United Nations Global Compact. Because as the world's largest corporate citizen sustainability initiative, we call on businesses all over the world to align their operations with 10 universal principles in the area of human rights, labor, the environment, and anti-corruption, and also, very importantly, take actions on the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, out of our 10 principles, 3 of them are very much focused on environmental sustainability, from 7 to 9, which calls on businesses to support a precautionary approach to environmental challenges. We also advise businesses to promote greater environmental responsibility and encourage the development and diffusion of friendly environmental, because we understand that businesses have to be responsible, and as much as they are designed to develop products or render services and of course make profits, we recognize that at a much more fundamental level, business simply cannot be divorced from the world in which it operates. So they need to be seen as a force for good. So most of the times we talk about, which everyone is quite conversant with, the people, the planet, and of course the profit. So, but to really drive home this point, I will want to tie them together, because the sustainability of the people and planet will ultimately decide how profitable businesses can be in the mid to long term. Now we are seeing that the most successful, impactful, and profitable businesses are those that prioritize sustainability and responsible business. Because now we know, like, I'm very happy that Mr. Dele is from Sterling Bank, and Sterling is also a member of the UN Global Compact, because we see that the planet is not just home to people, plants, and animals, it's also home to our business. So that is why the UN Global Compact is mobilizing businesses towards setting high standards of corporate sustainability thinking and creation. Because if we look at our goals, our principles are tied to the SDGs. We talked about innovating friendly environmental technologies to safeguard the environment that our businesses strive on. And they're tied to goal 12, 13, and 14, and even 15 of the Sustainable Development Goals, which talks about ensuring sustainable consumption and production patterns, take actions to combat climate change and its impact, and all of them. So through our action platforms and our global impact initiatives, like the one we're currently running now, it's called the Climate Ambition Program, we help companies understand the need for sustainable production, manufacturing, and even managing sustainable consumption to enable them set good science-based targets, manage their carbon footprints, and work towards a net zero future. I'll be talking more about what we're doing as a local network, because all local networks, which are called country offices of the UN Global Compact, we had about 71 across the world, have also been tasked with the mandate to ensure that they do projects or work with the businesses in their local country to take actions on environmental issues and work towards a net zero future. Thank you. I'll stop here for now.
Thank you very much, Naomi. That's, again, another beautiful insight into what the UNGCC is doing. Thank you very much. And one of the things you have talked about, if I have to take it from there, is saying that businesses must promote greater environmental sustainability. And in fact, for business to be sustainable, they just have to prioritize this. And interestingly, businesses are actually based on nature. Whatever it is that they do, whatever it is that we do in life is based on what nature has given to us. Now, I will go back to the idea of Mr. Matthew. Based on what Owokolo just talked about, looking at the future of business, in all that FIBRA as well as your organization have done, what have been the challenges? What are the key challenges that you want to highlight in all of this? Have there been challenges that you think we want to identify? I recall earlier you had talked about collection. You made that statement. Perhaps that is one of the challenges in looking at it from the angle of recycling, especially. What would perhaps you want to just highlight a few of it?
Thank you, Dr. EQ. I mean, definitely, we in the setting up of FIBRA, and I'm going to start by FIBRA, and maybe I will elaborate a little bit on NBC, but really on FIBRA and setting up the EPR scheme for the food and beverage sector in Nigeria has been an experience which is constantly evolving. If you remember, we started with 4 members. Now we are at 19, but that takes time and a lot of advocacy. I think we talked about the profitability. I think people now recognize that even in our country, Nigeria, it's a journey, and doing good for nature, doing good to people is good for business. So here, the one key element for us is how do we increase the industry membership beyond the individual interest or individual commitment. And here we are partnering with our regulatory partner, NESRA, who can enforce this PRO membership. So it's kind of an appeal. We talk to them on a regular basis, but that would be definitely a way to accelerate. We do it also through MAN, through IFBTE and other platform. But if the regulator comes in and make it mandatory, obviously it helps. So that's the first thing as a kind of a challenge. The second one, I alluded to it a bit earlier, which is in our country as well, in Nigeria, the lack of organized waste collection system. Even in Europe, collection is not easy. and it's sometimes a kind of gray area. But here, really, it's how do we link and make the value chain. At the end of the day, it's what matters. Okay, when there is value, you will see that it's going to be collected. For example, in cans is not an issue. Aluminium is being collected. However, for us, when it comes to really plastic and or cartons and food and beverage packaging, this is where we need to accelerate. So how do we bring more and proper structure around the collection system? Here, it's really how do we work, again, partner with the different states. We started with a Lagos state as an example, but any local state government waste management authority can support the implementation of a kind of uniform system for collection in Nigeria. That would be our pledge here. And then as FIBRA, we are definitely committed to work on that. So that's number 2. Number 3, because once we get more members and collect, what do we do with the plastic? Today, all the plastic which is collected here in Nigeria is being shipped over to China, to Europe, over there. We don't reuse it locally. And for many businesses, it's a critical way because we talk about circular economy. So we need to use it here locally. So it's really about how do we create operation of in-country rPET facilities. As I said before, the rPET, which stands for recycled PET standard, we agreed them like almost 2 years ago, October 2019 with SON, but we are yet to have an rPET facility in Nigeria. So there are many attempts, many local players, international local players who are taking steps. So hopefully by next year, same time, we will have 1 or 2 facilities in rPET. As an industry coalition, we are looking at an rPET facility in Agbara in Ogun State. NBC, as we also have global commitment to gradually use rPET, and in Europe, we are going fast into 100% recycling PET in our bottles. Here in Nigeria, we need to get that facility collection here. So it's really here, the key action point is the need for all relevant stakeholders in the value chain to collaborate, make it happen, starting by the food and beverage companies and the key partners in that whole value chain. Last but not least, the low value on packaging waste material. Okay, so we need to get that value, as I said at the beginning. Although in the last few weeks, months, you see that the cost of the collected PET, the bale or the kilo, is moved from 50, 60 naira now to 120, 180, and even some operators starting to ask for 200 naira, which is a great news because if there is value, and we are all entrepreneurs in Nigeria, if we find value in collecting back the plastic on the street, as an example to start with, then we know how it goes. People will be interested with that business, and when there is an interest, then it's going to go on its own. And that's the beauty of us in Nigeria, it's going to come. But this is clearly something that, talking as a chairman of FIBRA on behalf of all members of the Alliance, we want all our bottle back, okay? We don't want the bottle to be on the gutters, on the drainage, on the top side at all. It has an environmental interest, but very practical one, because we buy from outside with FX, with dollars, and bring it to the country. If we can use the material which is available in the country, stays in the country, and now we know how to have 1 life, 2 lives, 3 lives, 4 lives of the same plastic at the beginning. That's fantastic, and then it goes into other chain and other materials. So those are the 4 or 5 key challenges. But beyond the challenge, Dr. Hugh, it's also what solution we want to push and pull forward and partner with people around this panel, and also the regulator in Nigeria to make it happen and make it a reality in the next year or 2 years, 3 years max. But this is immediate action and concrete one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for again for helping us to understand that, and indeed how we can overcome the challenges that we're having. Mr. Desmond, you have been here. You are a well-known face as far as we're concerned in this arena. Now, what would you say, especially in dealing with these challenges that he just highlighted? In addition, of course, he's giving us some solutions. looking at this, where we are, our own country, what can we actually do better?
Whoa. A lot.
Of course, you've been there. What are the few steps you just think can take us out of where we are now?
A lot.
As we look forward to Agenda 2030 or moving
Absolutely.
to 2030, a whole lot is happening.
Oh yes, the harsh reality. I mean, I need to quote the Secretary General of the United Nations now. He has made some statements that are earth-shattering, earth-moving. The first of them came in 2019, when he said that mankind is waging war against nature, and this is suicidal because nature always fights back. And she's doing so with vigor and vehemence. 2019, 2020, he now said the point of no return is no longer in the horizon. It is hurtling towards us. And then just about 5 or 6 weeks ago, when he received the latest report of the International Panel for Climate Change, he now said, this is no longer a crisis. This is an emergency. I don't know how loud the alarm bells have to blow before we take the necessary action. And why did he say this? Because this was the latest report, and the report was buttressed with information from satellite imagery, from all the meteorologists around the world, people who have the knowledge, and they are alarmed. Or the question we can put to ourselves is, can a fool become Secretary General of the United Nations? Kofi Annan Namumu? No way. The highest caliber of intellect are the only people that can arise to the top. Somebody like me, I'll be lucky to be secretary to the Secretary General. It's okay, that's even a big one for me. Come on. He's talking from a position of knowledge. He's saying it's an emergency. Look, the oceans are already going to rise by 0.5 meter, no matter what we do. And that's only because we've gone 1.2 degrees centigrade above the average temperature. We haven't even hit the 1.5, which was the Paris degree goal. That they said if we go 1.5, we're going to unleash. If we go beyond that, the thing becomes unstoppable and catastrophic. Already we're seeing what they call tipping point scenarios, where the mangroves are releasing methane, where the forests are dying back and they're giving more CO2 than they're sequestering. So it is an emergency. But as this young lady, this young girl, Greta Thunberg, you might be familiar with her, the young activist, she pointed her finger to them in the UN and said, you people, why are you calling it emergency when you're not behaving like it's an emergency? And that's exactly what we need to do in Nigeria. Last year, our wonderful president went to the United Nations. He said, Nigeria is going to plant 25 million trees. From the Nigerian Conservation Foundation, we became very aware that only 5 million were planted. The NCF is what started the Ministry of Environment in the first place, way back then. It's another story. Only 5 million. Meanwhile, we're ripping down our forests. Luckily, we do have people, enlightened people, who are ready to put people and planet ahead of profit. Because, otherwise, why are you making the profit? Isn't it for the people? Isn't it for your children? So that's the challenge. We really, really need to understand the seriousness of the situation. We have literally between 10 to 20 years to get this thing right. Otherwise, it becomes irreversible. The species extinction. We've never experienced this type of extinction in recorded memory of geological evidence. This rapidity of extinction where species are just wiping out like this. A lot of them because of pollution, because of plastic. Hey, come on. Not to mention the climate change. Anyway, I've spoken too much. So we need to really
Thank you very much. Yes, I was actually, yes, you've actually spoken, and perhaps maybe taking it from that high level, I will need Owokolo to again talk to us on the practical things that we can actually do as far as I know you had referred to other clients where we have UNGC, but I actually want us to bring it home and see how we can sustain what we've done, whether in our partnership, in meeting the SDG goals. Earlier you said a whole lot of things that is being done, especially that aspect of the climate ambition program. How does circular economy fit into all of this? And so that we can actually strengthen the partnership that revolves around that. And then perhaps we will move to Delhi to see how it's going to give us more money to do what we're doing. So, Umokolo? Naomi, you are muted in case. Perhaps maybe she's not hearing me. Now, okay, I'll quickly move to Dele. Dele, earlier you said so much about your activities, the beautiful things you are doing. In fact, as financial institution, this is quite commendable, I must sincerely say. And we will say that other organizations will want to at least also look at what you are doing and follow suit. But then, what opportunities would you say exist in the transition to a circular economy as far as the SMEs are concerned and the further support you can give to them?
Thank you so much, Dr. Itua. We've always wanted and always willing to put our balance sheet down to support anything that is sustainable, anything that has impact, even though we're a bank. But I'm sure if you can see what you're seeing behind me, we've deliberately dropped the word bank in the positioning of sterling because, and it's not, if you notice, I've used the word deliberate a number of times. It's because we know that banking as we know it today has changed. I won't even say it will change, has changed. Any institution, business institution that is not committed to sustainability will not be here for the long run. So this is very much something we're convinced about, something that we ourselves are preaching and trying to get as many businesses on board. Now, when it comes to opportunities around circular economy, I think at the beginning, you gave us a very deep insight as to what the circular economy actually means. If I may add to that, for people to understand in fuller context, this is an economy where there is no wastage, and it's by design. It's not by accident. By design, society, business processes are made to avoid pollution and wastage, where products and materials are reused. And when we look at all of this, by definition itself, we can see the opportunities that exist. Mr. Seguin already spoke about what the Alliance is doing around recycling. We've spoken about what we're trying to do about waste collection, beach cleanup. Mr. Majekodumi has spoken about what the NCF is doing. The opportunities are immense. It's a whole new economy on its own. If I backtrack a little, even though not so related, but just for us to see how by a new set of economic activity, we can create an entirely new industry. Yeah, we had telecoms before in the days of Nitel and the precursor. But when GSM came 20 years ago, we saw that an entirely new economy was created. In fact, led significantly to the rebasing of the Nigerian economy when we said, look, wait a minute, we've created so much economic activity here that we haven't captured in our GDP. Government needed to go back to recompute. A time is coming when another rebasing of Nigeria's economy will be done by the economic activities and revenues, employment, and so on and so forth that will be created from what we're now using and calling circular economy, recycling, waste to wealth, energy generation, and so on and so forth. So entrepreneurs, small businesses who are interested in playing in this space should keep their eyes wide open, their ears attentive, and participate in events such as we're having today, because there is not going to be script written for anybody to read to say, okay, this is what you have to do. But if you're an entrepreneur and you've listened for the last 1 hour that we've been speaking, we've already highlighted a number of opportunities. I've seen people ask questions about collection points. We see what happens in parties in Lagos. We see what happens in waste collection, Loma, and so on and so forth. This can be a whole new employment generation vehicle for the government and for businesses. So I've spoken about employment. I've spoken about poverty eradication as opportunities. And it presents opportunities to grow income levels, to diversify businesses. So if you're a business in energy today, you're a business in food and beverages, you're a business in financial, whatever your business is, you may want to consider diversifying into this circular economy and plugging into what you can do. And of course, I spoke earlier about those who are even in research and development, because there is a whole body of knowledge that is required in scientific research. And there's a whole lot of opportunity in engineering design, in real estate development, in urban communities development. These are all opportunities that exist. And finally, as we move towards what we call net zero, which is about eradicating incremental emissions of greenhouse gases, and how these touch on 7 of the sustainable development goals, as I mentioned before. As a country, we must pay attention to this, because if we do, we can easily address 7 of those SDGs. And for those who are familiar with the 17 SDGs, you know that they are interconnected elements. I think I would like to stop at this for now in terms of what the opportunities are endless, I must say. Thank you.
I agree with you. The opportunities are endless. As much as we are up against all this high level of risk, we know inherent in them are the opportunities. And now, Naomi, I just wanted to, you said so much today about what you are doing. Now, focusing in the proper context now for our nation, how do you think your organization can continue to drive the circular economy principle, to drive the sustainability principle? In the light of working with so many of us, working with partners.
Okay, thank you for that question. So what we do, like I stated earlier about the work of the UN Global Compact, we'll continue to train and educate our companies on what they have to do to remain responsible, and also maintain a precautionary approach to doing their business and also caring for the environment. Firstly, I would say they will continue to also educate them, talk to them about the need to develop a code of conduct or practice for their operations and product that will confirm commitment to caring for the climate. And then lots of our financial institutions are doing that already, because a very fundamental aspect of the Global Compact is that companies will have to report on their progress. Dr. Eugene, you also remember, and they're reporting on what they are doing as regards our 4 pillars. So when you develop a code of conduct and you take actions on that and ensure that you're not just developing, but that the entire business, your entire employees are taking actions on how to be responsible. And they could also develop a company guideline on the consistent application of the approach throughout the company. I'll give you an example of what our companies are doing in this regard to show you how ours is to communicate and also engage our stakeholders. For example, let me say, I'll give you the first example of Access Bank. they're very big on circular economy as well, and they work towards, they recycle their old branded materials into pencils, and they work together with Natural Eco Capital, Dr. Eugene, yourself. And they have a recycling model with organizations like Recycle Points that help them collect sorted waste papers, plastic and cans, and recycle these waste materials as well. And then for we at the Global Compact, to understanding the importance of partnerships, we amplify partnerships with our members and also non-members, even government as a multi-sectoral organization. So the first thing we have done and by committing to that regard is that we launched the CEO Water Mandate in Nigeria in partnership with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. It's an initiative where, as the name applies, is designed to mobilize commitment to effective water use, management and sanitation at the highest level of business leadership across all industries. So businesses who commit to or endorse the CEO Water Mandate undertake that they are going to be working towards water stewardship practices in Nigeria. So this is not talking about global levels, but what we in Nigeria are doing. So we have committed companies like Nestle, Coca-Cola, some members of FIBRA as well, who are taking the lead. And then in 2017, the Nigerian Stock Exchange floated a green bond, which encourages companies listed in the stock exchange to take actions on environmental issues, and it is doing a great job as well. I'll also mention Lafarge Africa in Nigeria, which they're members. In 2020, they're the first company that endorsed they signed the net zero pledge of the UN Global Compact, and they took actions to ensure that they're managing their carbon footprints, ensuring them sustainable cement production and the likes of this. So what does this imply for us? It means that companies are actually taking actions, because we cannot just talk, we have to walk the talk, we have to do the work. So companies are taking actions to ensure that they are operating in a very responsible manner. Another example I'll give you is that of Zenith Bank. They developed the waste management policy in the bank to ensure that they recycle their waste to tissue paper. They've worked with the LOMA on waste segregation. So all these companies are taking actions in their own ways. And why is that so? Because they are implementing policies in that regard. So everybody, not just companies, all parts of society need to come together to work towards ensuring a circular economy. Just like I will talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, government will not deliver the goals alone. So if we are really looking forward to delivering the goals on 2030, all parts of society need to come together. And that includes business, the non-governmental organizations, even faith-based organization needs to come together. And in that regard also, I will talk about circular economy, which is also part of the Sustainable Development Goals. There are a lot of examples. Julius Berger is also doing a lot. Unilever has launched the Sustainable Living Plan, which is a blueprint not just for them, but for Nigerian businesses in general. And their plan is really to improve the health and well-being, enhance livelihoods, and reduce the environmental impact. So these are just a few of what our businesses are doing as regards the circular economy, and I will also call on most other businesses to join. There is FIBRA Alliance now. I'm happy we're having this collaboration, and I'm sure we're going to move it forward from here on how we can maybe form a business plastic action or as regards the circular economy, talk about very handy projects that we can work together and play our part towards ensuring a circular economy and for Nigeria as a country. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all these beautiful initiatives and the circular economy interventions that you have just outlined. And it's really good for our climb, I must sincerely say. Earlier at the beginning, we had said, our great audience, if you have any question, you have any comment, and I know a number of you are already doing that, please, would you want to put them there in the chat box so that our distinguished panelists can give attention to them? I know a question was asked on the number of waste pickers, and I think it's been responded to. If I don't think we have opportunity to leave the floor for the audience, so please kindly go there and put your question there. It will be very helpful. It will assist us. I have seen one here, and we will come back to the panelists. let's just give opportunity to the audience to ask us some questions if they have, or contribute to what we have been saying. And to our MD, Nigeria Bottling Company, and the chairman, FIBRA, the question is it wise to have only one pro in the Nigeria packaging EPR sector? Is it wise? Can we have more than one?
Okay, Dr. Etienne, I mean, we took charge as an industry for our own EPR on food and beverage. And then when you talk to Nezra will tell you, okay, the industry is really in the leading front. Now, I don't think one is enough to answer straight the question, because it has to be done by sector, but at least we take charge of our own waste and packaging and so on. I would imagine that other industry needs to replicate what we are doing, but definitely for us, we start by what we control, try to make it work. And as I said before, it takes time. But I think if it is a call out for other industries to do and to replicate the same as that we are doing in our industry, then absolutely, I think the answer is yes. But here it will be either from the regulator, as we talked earlier, or from the industry, different industries themselves, to take the charge and start doing the right thing, basically.
Thank you very much. The other one was about waste speakers, and I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think a response has been given, so you can, the audience, you can read that there. But I wanted to know where the 10,000 waste speakers are, and the impact particularly in Lagos. If any of our panelists have any response to that, fine. But there's a comment that relates to Sterling Bank, and they are commending you for doing a very good job. But what they are saying is that, but they can do better. I don't really understand the second statement, but what they have said is they are seeing opportunities. Many of us are ignoring or playing lip service to.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
You want me to?
Do you think it will be in developing these opportunities? Perhaps we can actually, I know it's been happening, it's happening elsewhere, it's happening here and there, but we have not been able to profile, you permit me to use that word, those opportunities that we have. Can we document them? Is it possible? Please go ahead and speak. You wanted to say something.
Okay, thank you. I saw the comment that was sort of referred to Sterling Bank, and I think it's a commendation of a sort. And as usual, the reward for hard work, they say, is more work. So I think the participant is asking Sterling to do more, and the reference to the fact that Sterling is not perceived as greenwashing, I think is in good light, is in good faith that we're walking the talk. We're not just pretending to be committed to the environment or to sustainability. We're committing our capital, we're providing support, we're joining and forming alliances, and we would like to continue to do so. The truth of the matter is we embrace the call for us to do more, because I think that the more any institution appreciates the essence of what we're discussing today, the more you see that no matter what you do, it's probably never going to be enough. And I guess that's the perspective from which we would embrace the call on Sterling to do more. And one of the things that we would like to do more of is actually inviting other institutions, to join forces with us, with FIBRA, with NCF, with everybody, with the UN network, in order for us to continue to advance this particular objective and agenda. And with regards to your question about documenting the opportunities, I think it's a very good call. every participant in terms of institutions who are in this space should begin to, which is why I was speaking about research and development in my previous comment. It's another area of opportunity for researchers, for those who are involved in developing programs and projects and schemes to actually document the business opportunities, because at the end of the day, we need to transit the conversation from just a mere CSR type of conversation to people opening their eyes or helping people to see business opportunities so that they can buy into it. And I think that's where the commercial sustainability would actually come from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have one more question here that I would like to take. And it's from Collins. If I didn't mention your name, our great participant that are asking questions, you pardon me on that. Maybe we should actually recognize some of us that are putting these things here. Collins Akumabo, you have said, I'll just pick your question from that. I know you try to create a preamble. What progress is being made to implement a policy change in Nigeria to this effect? And what he's talking about is encouraging consumers to return packages. Perhaps any of the speakers, please, you can speak to this. I know he's talking about packaging materials returning. In those days when we were at when we were very young, we were returning bottles, we were picking bottles. They will tell you the liquid content only. But beyond liquid content only, now you can go with the can, you can go with the bottle, you can litter the environment with the whole thing. Of course, you can also pick them up and reuse them or repackage them in whatever way you want to do. So the question is, what progress is being made to implement a policy change in Nigeria to this effect? I will want to ask Mr. Matthew, because as the chairman of FIBRA, perhaps the alliance is, I know you are doing a whole lot with NESRA. So perhaps from that angle, you want to give a brief remark to it, and then maybe Desmond can now also come in the light of the policy issues and quickly say something in that direction.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Itra. I mean, a couple of points here. The first one is, as I said before, we really need to incentivize or find a way to collect back whatever is put on the streets. It starts by, I guess, that one is a consumer education. I heard a lot about, okay, what are the business doing and so on. I want to ask also, and I think Mr. Desmond said, okay, he's bringing a lot of students, which is fantastic in his place and so on, to educate the awareness of what do I do, how can I collect, and where do I put it, in which bin, and who is gonna take care of that. So I think that's the first thing. Our situation is quite different from Europe. As you know, in Europe, they only started now this whole system of deposit return scheme. The retailers, the industry is much more organized. I'm not saying not to go there, but I think we need to pace ourselves and maybe do some leap forward, because the good news about us in Nigeria, we can advance technology. So I would really, and we do that in FIBRA, but also with the regulator and many other NGOs, find a way to get it. The best way for me to get it is to get value and put some value on the plastic bottle and plastic in general. And by the way, plastic bottle, we see them in the drainage, but plastic bottle is only 10% of the total plastic which is put out there in the market. When I go in the north, when I go in Kano, when I go in Sokoto, and so on, you see those trees which are all dark and black in the winter. They are black full of plastic bags. Okay, so that's another debate. So when I talked about it before, I mean, plastic bottle, it's our responsibility and we take full charge. But to be specific here, I think we are at the beginning of how do we make a business or something which makes business sense. And back to it, if we can attach value on the plastic bottles in the market, you know what? They're going to disappear from the market because people will pick them and put them into the collection center. That's where we need. We are not far from that. As I said, the kilo moved from 60 naira now to 120, going to 180 to 100. I guess that's the best way to collect them back, but that's my view. So I'm sure any other panelists will have a view as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Before Desmond comes in, somebody also just talked about prices. Assuming the cost of collection is higher than what is being the prices, what happens? He's giving an example. Is there in the Q&A session of this? He made reference to 2007, 2009 financial crisis. And the question is, how will FIBRA protect waste plastic supply chain participants if the prices fall?
Okay, so today what we do is that we are basically incentivizing. So FIBRA is working with many collectors and waste pickers, and we are every kilo there is like a top up coming from FIBRA. The market dynamic globally has changed quite a bit. With all the commitment, all the companies and the UN commitment and so on, you see the recycled PET globally being more expensive than the VPET, the virgin PET. So there is a much higher demand for recycled PET. And as I said before, everything we collect in Nigeria, we don't use it here. It's going straight to China or Europe. My challenge will be to make sure that we can use it here for our own circular economy. So there is no carbon emission, and no added cost to ship it to Europe or to ship it to China. So I agree with you, Michael. It was an issue in the past. However, now you see that really those things are moving in a different direction, which is there is value globally ahead of virgin PET. So if anything, there will be more incentive to collect and to ship it, to export it. And that's why our challenge will be to keep it here locally and reuse it here locally for our own bottles. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think some of these issues also relate to the policy regime in place. Perhaps, Mr. Despot, do you want to speak to that question?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it does. It relates to the policy regime. And just, prior to that, we have to give commendation again to, Coca-Cola, to bottling company. Just outside Lufasi, there's a collection bank, and the local community are very, very happy. But it is only for the pets. So there has to be policy. I mean, for God's sake, Kenya, you go to Nairobi with a polyvinyl bag, forget it. You're not going into that country with that bag, because they know the implications. Sorry, it's highly profitable. Yes, it's very convenient. Yes, but it is far too damaging to our life support system, to the environment. So there has to be policy. And there are alternatives. It might not be as profitable, but there are alternatives. Biodegradable bags are available. We have all the ability to do that. So there must be policy. Governments need to wake up to the seriousness of the issue. They're dealing with our children's life support system. For God's sake, if you see somebody threatening your child's life, you're not going to allow that to happen. And that's exactly what's going on. So, they know what to do. So many other countries, even within Africa, have the right sort of policies. We can start to adopt those policies. And, sorry, it's going to be less profit for some people. Sorry, at least it's going to be longer life for our children. They know what to do. It's all there.
Thank you very much. In the absence, I cannot see other questions here from the audience.
Yeah, Dr. Eugene, sorry.
Okay, so let's talk about vulnerable. Maybe Wokolo can come to this. What are you doing about giving, receptacles to vulnerable communities? Would you want to say something? I'm still coming to you, but I just thought, but just go ahead and speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Mr. Desmond was saying about giving best practices from other countries like Kenya. So, and then talking about we as a country need to do more as regards our policies, because laws are very important. But when I'm coming from a responsible business approach, so I'm saying instead of waiting for the government, since the policies are not really forthcoming, companies may want to adopt voluntary charters or codes of conduct, and other international best practices and practice it internally. In that way, they're also taking actions. And then when they do that, they can begin to work with product designers and suppliers to improve their environmental performance and extend responsibility throughout their value chain. So this is now ownership. You're not waiting for someone to tell you this is what you need to do or this is a law. You're owning it. So when you establish something like for those in the manufacturing sector, when you establish something like a sustainable production and consumption program with clear performance objectives, you're taking actions as well for your organization, and it's also impacting the environment that you thrive in, the country as a whole. So this is why businesses need to really define their vision. They need to define their policies and strategies to include sustainable development. That's why we as an organization, we are telling businesses, embed this as part of your company's operations. You need to embed it, make it a part of you. Don't just give it to one department. Everybody in your organization needs to think sustainability. So in that way, whatever you're doing, your operations, your strategies, you're taking actions on not just the environment as well or alone, but as sustainable development in general. That's just what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those beautiful remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, I will just quickly say, in closing out this aspect of the program for today, it's been quite illuminating, and I know the audience, based on the remarks, some of the remarks I saw there in the chats, I think everybody is happy. Thank you very much. But in rounding up, some few words from everyone. This time, let me just start with, you recall earlier, it was male, male, male. Now let's start with our mother here. So Wokulu, what do you want to tell us? Take notes. Our focus had been environmental sustainability and circular economy, going beyond just cleaning that we'll be doing in a few days' time. How do we take all of this forward? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just a few minutes, because we have our permanent secretary that will be speaking to us very shortly.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Dr. Eugene. For me, in conclusion, I'll just say that both governments and businesses have a role in promoting a circular economy. So from governance and policies at the government level to embedding these responsible business practices in business operation, government and businesses need to work together. There should be a need for us to amplify partnership. And we know that change is not an easy thing to make, because the initial change may be uncomfortable, but the end result is an economy that in the long term, while enabling the environment and society, the economy is an economy that will be sustainable in the long term. So the key thing is about integration and partnership and ensuring that the changes are made across every part of the value chain, because change requires cooperation from every player and stakeholders involved in the process. So we really need to work together. I'm personally looking forward, and as speaking on behalf of my organization, I'm looking forward to amplifying more partnerships between yourselves, Sterling One and FIBRA, and let's take actions to ensure a more circular economy. Thank you.
We appreciate those brilliant statements. Thank you. And then I would like to take it from Mr. Desmond.
Yes, thank you very much. There is hope, there's hope. I want to invite everybody on this panel and even our participants to come to Lufasi Park and practicalize what we've been talking about sometime in November. Maybe the initiative could be driven by Sterling and Coca-Cola. Yes, we'll do some cleaning in the area, and we'll do some symbolic tree planting so that we can actually walk our talk. It's been an honor to be with you, and this is very, very encouraging indeed. There is hope for the future, especially as we're God-fearing citizens, and all our scriptures say we should replenish the earth, care for the creation.
Thank you very much. And I just saw a test that shows the permanent secretary. Unfortunately, we won't have the privilege to listen to him today. Apologies. I know we had tinkled your ears and you were waiting to hear him speak. So since we have a bit of time, we know Fibra, Coca-Cola, Sterling Bank, they've actually been the brain behind this. Let's give them a bit of time, more than what Uwokola and Desmond took to talk to us, and then we will say the final words in closing. So I would like to call on Matthew.
Thank you very much. I will still be short, okay, to gain some time for all of us. I guess in closing remarks, 4 key points for me when it comes to Fibra and NBC, but really, I really appreciated the dialogue, and Mr. Desmond and Naomi will be happy to be together and work together in the future. So as I said, 4 points. One is we are working with all our partners in the value chain, from the bottom, the waste pickers, to the recycler, processor, to really build that network to collect more of the waste driven by the food and beverage industry. And I'm really appealing to all the players in the industry to join Fibra. As I said before, as a PRO, we want to lead the APR in that sector and start by our sector. That's the first thing. Second one, we are partnering with investors to establish the rPET facilities across Nigeria. So whatever waste we are collecting in plastic, we can treat it locally and get it back into the food chain, assuming it's a food grade packaging material, but bottle to bottle recycling. Three, we are investing in the value chain infrastructure to support the circular economy in Nigeria, as I said, from the waste pickers to women and youth. And I like very much what Dele said about the job empowerment and so on. This is critical to, we know how high is the unemployment and the skill issues, but from there, we have people in Ikorodu, the Madam in Ikorodu, who with that is able to feed her family and send kids to school. Or we have a young business entrepreneur who make a living from the recycling. So there is really value in the chain. And last but not least, something we didn't talk that much is we really need to make a focus on educating our fellow Nigerians, the men and women on the street, not to throw the plastic on the floor, but find a way to collect it and recycling it. And that's why we need to partner like the Loma of the world to make sure that this is collected. We use Kenya as an example. It's a great example. We have many others in Africa where we find a way to have a clean street, value into it, because this is critical for us now, for our children. And I think as one of the panelists said, what we are doing in the next 5, 10, 15 years max is critical. So now is time to act. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all those beautiful statements once again. And then our friend, Dele.
Thank you, Dr. Itua. It's a pleasure. I think I would like to just break my closing comments in 2 parts. The first part, I would like to elaborate a bit more on what I think that we as Sterling would like to do more of, and which will represent what we're calling on other financial institutions to do more of. And then a general comment on what we think is the future of the conversation we're having today. So the first thing is the formation and strengthening of partnerships. As we do know, that's actually the 17th SDG. It's about partnership. This is something that involves every one of us, globally and domestically. Nobody who truly understands and appreciates the place of sustainability will not already see the benefit of partnerships, which is why, you know, what every single institution, organization representing on this session today is very important. And I would, if we're not, I know that we're at Sterling Bank, we're a bank, a financial institution, I should say, we do not produce food or beverages. But the truth is, there are institutions and associations we belong to today as a further demonstration of our commitment to partnership. For example, we are an institutional member of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria. We're not an energy generation company. So the reason I'm saying that is that it would be a pleasure, if we're not already a member, to sit down with Matthew and his team and the Alliance to see how Sterling can actually become a member of FIBRA. We will be very pleased to do so, such that we can provide more concrete and direct intervention and support in the activities of the Alliance. The second thing is that, it will be important for those who are committed to this space to make funding available as grants for research and development when it comes to the scientific knowledge, engineering design, and policy advocacy as well, that needs to go into what we're discussing. And the other thing is, since we sent out a call to entrepreneurs and other small business owners about business opportunities, from where we sit, we know that supporting or providing support in project development is an essential part of supporting small businesses. So we'll be very happy to collaborate with the United Nations Network, with NCF, with FIBRA, and all the other stakeholders in actually finding ways that we can support small businesses who may be looking to develop business ideas in this space. And of course, financing. We'll be very happy as often as we see opportunities that are commercially viable, which is why it's important, the point I made just before now about providing project development support, so that we can help them build bankable projects that they can take to raise financing. We will continue to join campaigns as we do, beach cleanup activities and so on and so forth, adoption of beaches, and of course, supporting crowdfunding initiatives for activities that enhance sustainability. So these are the 6 areas that I think that we will continue to participate as an institution across all our different arms, and we encourage other institutions to do so as well. Finally, I would encourage us that the narrative about the environment needs to begin to change. And what do I mean by that? Again, like I said before, this is no longer so much about corporate social responsibility, which we know that is usually perceived as something that an institution does to help other people. This is what we must do to help ourselves. So it's gone beyond CSR. And secondly, very closely linked to that, is that the narrative must begin to project commercial benefits to organizations that participate in this space. Whether you are a food and beverage manufacturing company, whether you are other manufacturing entities, whether you're a financial institution, whether you're an NGO. Because the truth of the matter is that businesses will remain businesses. Businesses' objectives are to make profit. And there is no conflict whatsoever between profit-making objectives and sustainability. And that's the narrative that I think we need all to go forward with so that we can recruit more people into this campaign. Thank you very much.
I appreciate all your beautiful closing remarks. Our distinguished panelists has been quite, like I said earlier, for me, I have learned so much, and I believe our great audience also did the same. And the conversation continues. It doesn't end here. I recall earlier, Desmond had said, awareness, awareness, awareness. And of course, Dele just talked about partnership. We need to strengthen it, just as Wokolo had talked about earlier. And of course, from the business angle, working with FIBRA, working with Nigeria bottling companies, it's been a great delight being part of this very beautiful session. Changing the narrative. Dele just talked about that. The question is, can we aim at actions that will stem biodiversity laws that can as well deliver an economy that is largely circular in nature? We talked about 2030, but a new vision that was just developed, which Natural Eco Capital, our organization, supported Nigeria in developing the long-term low emission vision. It's taking us to 2050, beyond the 5-year revision cycle of the NDC. Now, all of this, we can continue to have conversation on, so that how we achieve what is being discussed in terms of partnership, in terms of not throwing away plastics, like Matthew said earlier. I think we'll have more and more impacts that are positive if we continue the conversation. So, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a very beautiful session in looking at environmental sustainability and circular economy as part of the countdown activity to the World Day. We are all going to clean on Saturday. Arise, you have said that a whole lot of activities are lined up. Please, for more information, you want to reach out. It's been a beautiful initiative, and we have crystallized this today. More activities to come on Saturday. And beyond Saturday, sustainability. Thank you very much, and have a beautiful day. Would you want to take picture? I don't know. You want to take picture of the audience so that you have this as part of your, I don't know if you want to do that. I know you will permit me, the great audience were there. I talked about you earlier. You have been quite good. Thank you. And though the logistic team behind all of this, thank you too. I didn't thank you for that. So thank you. I can see you are all smiling now. Especially Beju is smiling and Arisa is smiling. Thank you very much. So would you want to take a picture of the people here, or what do you want to do so that we can sign off? Victor, do you want to put on your, Victor?
Yes, we're taking a picture now.
You want us to see your face? At least for those here, you want to take the picture and keep it? Who is doing that? Victor, you are the only one we're not seeing. Aha, we can see you now. This handsome face, you don't want us to see it. So I think it's done. Thank you very much, and have a beautiful day. Just to let you know, for those that will be interested in natural capital accounting, there's going to be trainer session coming up later in the month. The information will be given to Arisha, and then she will share with those that are interested in it. Thank you very much, and bye for now.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye. See you at the party park.